ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, March 5th, 2013, and on tonight's Flashpoint Radio, we've got the war drums beating Justin Bieber, marijuana, the United Nations, and sequestration. Let's get right into it, because, like always, I've put too much on my plate and we've got too much to cover. First, we will touch on the war drums. These are the headlines at thedrudgereport.com. This is just possibly the flashpoint that they want you to focus on, or a false flag flashpoint coming in the near future. War drums. Kerry warns Iran on brink. Challenging moment with great risks. Obama not bluffing over military threat. Netanyahu red line. Nuclear Iran will trigger arms race in the Middle East. Kissinger. New crisis close, of course. Time to spread the fear. They need some support. The government's not too popular these days, and what is the one thing that gets support for the government like none other? War. So, who knows what's going to happen, but I know Iran has never invaded another country, or hasn't invaded another country in the last 120 years. They have been invaded 4 times, and their government's toppled by Western democracies 4 times. So, you tell me who's in the wrong. We're going to look at this story out of KSDK.com out of St. Louis. Strange message appears on St. Louis area cell phones. My wife Jamie came home the other day and said, I was driving down the highway and my cell phone started screaming at me. And I looked at it and it was an Amber Alert. Turns out that backdoor that the federal government put in all the cell phones, that they required back in 1998, the back door where they could get in and do anything with your phone, yeah, that's starting to roll out. Starting January 1st, you started to see messages on your cell phone. Amber Alerts, which serve a good purpose. I did some research on AmberAlert.com, and only 20% of Amber Alerts are actually recovered due to the Amber Alert. But also emergency weather alerts, catastrophe alerts, and the third, which they kind of gloss over, is presidential alerts. I like to call this operant conditioning. This is just conditioning us for what's to come in the future. Maybe not us, maybe not you, but your kids at least. How do I know they're going after your kids? How about this from Forbes? This is from January. Justin Bieber promotes prepaid debit cards. Who thinks that's a good idea? Justin Bieber has entered into a partnership with Bill My Parents on a new prepaid debit card aimed at teenagers. Now, is it really aimed at teenagers? I was pretty sure that Justin Bieber's target audience was under 12. So obviously we're looking at trying to push spending and, well, debt. Basically, using any type of plastic is a form of debt on our children. And we're using the #1 pop sensation in the world to do it. Please, people, turn off your TV. Don't let your kids watch this garbage. Watch what they're doing. They're getting brainwashed at every turn. How about some more conditioning from the GatewayPundit.com? Obama DHS purchases 2,700 light armored tanks to go with their 1.6 billion bullet stockpile. Good article. Gateway Pundit out of St. Louis, Jim Hoft. Thanks for putting this information out, Jim, but your right-wing slander on this it ruins it. It's not the Obama DHS. He didn't create the DHS. Where were you when we were instituting the TSA or the Patriot Act or all of the things that George W. Bush did? You weren't. This is not Obama's DHS. This is our government's DHS. So get it right. We can't continue to fight left and right, and because what happens? Obama will probably be out in 2016 and a Republican will be in, and you won't care at all, Jim Hoft. Or will you? Will you come around to stand for truth or stand aside? From FoxNews.com, on the marijuana or cannabis, as I like to call it by its actual name, ex-DEA heads say Obama administration should nullify pot laws. 8 former Drug Enforcement Administration chiefs say the federal government needs to act now or it might lose the chance to nullify Colorado and Washington's laws legalizing recreational marijuana use. Saying the Obama administration had reacted too slowly and should immediately sue to force the states to rescind the legislation. Yes, of course, they want to nullify Colorado and Washington laws, even though those are the people's laws. Those laws were voted on by the people. This is the federal government coming into states and saying, we're going to sue you over what your people, your citizens want to do. Who's the enemy? The terrorists or the government? The government. Relaxation of U.S. cannabis laws violates UN drug conventions. Maybe this is why these globalists came out to say this, these war on drug stooges, because the United Nations is getting angry at us for having our states actually go against them and the federal government and listening to their people. So yes, this is the United Nations coming in, trying to trump our national sovereignty and ultimately state sovereignty over marijuana that they say is dangerous. The people that run and benefit from the drug war are the people that create the drug war. They're the people that traffic the drugs. You really think the drug dealers, the drug pushers, the potheads, the guys with pounds of marijuana, you think they're really making the billions and billions of dollars every year on the drug trade? No, that money goes to black ops to fund the CIA and our secret drone programs. But hey, they want to prevent us from growing a plant that was not created by man but created by God. But in Washington D.C., from the Examiner, freedom license plates banned in Washington D.C. In Washington D.C., you cannot have a license plate that reads freedom. Awesome. Sounds like freedom to me. Moving on to the story of the week and what they want you to think about every day, especially if you're a federal worker, is sequestration. John Boehner came out today and was quoted and stated that the Republicans in the House's goal is not to shut down the government, but to institute spending cuts. Well, John Boehner, there are a lot of us out here that wish your goal was to shut down the government, because the government is not getting any smaller, and it is not going away or spending less money. And furloughing workers for 1 day a week is not going to cut it. From the Washington Times, email tells feds to make sequester as painful as promised. The Obama administration denied an appeal for flexibility in lessening the sequester effects, with an email this week appearing to show officials in Washington that because they already had promised the cuts would be devastating, that now they have to follow through on that. Wow, our government sure loves us. But what do they have time and money to do? From Infowars.com, FEMA censors information about bizarre zombie UFO crash exercise. Yes, in on April 27th in the city of Moscow in Idaho, FEMA has planned an emergency drill revolving around a zombie UFO crash. I wonder how much that will cost. Or how much did this cost? From CNSnews.com, TSA sealed $50 million Sequester Eve deal to buy new uniforms. Right before the sequester took effect, the Transportation Security Administration ordered $50 million in new uniforms that are partially made in Mexico. They now have a larger uniform budget than our Marines. Man, our government loves us. They just love us. Again, from the Washington Times, more sequester pain. The White House cancels tours. The White House announced Tuesday that it was canceling all public tours of the president's home because of the sequester spending cuts. Wow, that is amazing. Who cares? I've been to Washington, D.C. recently, and you can go to the home of George Washington, our first and greatest president, and it's free, and it's run by volunteers. So why don't we have people that really, 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 really love this administration volunteer to show people around the White House? No, this is just another publicity stunt. Again, from the Washington Times, feds keep hiring with sequesters in place. 400 jobs posted on the first day back. The first day back for the federal government, when the sequester took effect, they posted 400 jobs that need to be filled. Sounds like they're taking it seriously. From the Weekly Standard, Army spokesman reminds employees and civilians not to criticize Commander-in-Chief. The full text of the email is included in the link, which is in the description below, but that sounds like freedom to me. That sounds like freedom to me. But hey, who cares how much money the government spends? Who cares $50 million on new TSA uniforms? Who cares about the federal government spending money on zombie UFO crashes? Joe Flacco, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, now has a new contract worth $120.6 million. And it made him feel, quote, like he was respected around here. And that, quote, he's worth what he's worth. People, when will you get it through your head that until you turn around from this fraud, until you turn your back on this fraud, and I'm not just talking about your government, I'm talking about everything you have bought into in your life, until you turn your back on this fraud and pull your dollars, your productivity, your labor away from these false systems, they're going to continue to do this. And they'll pay quarterbacks $300 million while you're on welfare. And guess what? You'll still pay the cable bill. You'll still pay for the new high-definition TV to see these jokers play a game on a field. Wake up, people. It's all operant conditioning. The globalists love psychiatry. They love all of those guys that ran those dirty experiments in the early 20th century. And they're still running them. They're just running them on mass scales with systems like Google watching us and compiling data so they can learn what it is they need to do in order to get us to move down that giant maze that they've got us in. We're in a psychologist or a psychiatrist maze in some sort of experiment, and they're trying to get us to go to the cheese. And that cheese is full of cyanide and it will kill you. No, that cheese is full of GMO and it will kill you. Or fluoride, or radioactive isotopes, or anything else that they actually have used to kill people. Wake up, America. We don't have all day to get these people out of our lives. But you tuned into Flashpoint Radio and sat around while I talked for 12 minutes, so you started, and that's good. Spread this video, share this video, repost this on Facebook, comment below. Whatever you do, spread this information. Stand for truth or stand aside. Who wants to sleep through their entire life? I know I don't. And I'm going to make sure I wake up as many people along the way, no matter how I do it. Thank you for watching Flashpoint Radio. I am Jay-Z signing off, saying God bless and keep your eyes to the sky.